met through a lot of universities. We met students from different diversities, lots of Chinese, yeah, and one thing that I felt, in India, you have hardly any chances of meeting a Chinese unless that Chinese is kind of a pilgrim or to come in to visit those Buddhist sacred places, or a businessman or woman who is on India on a short business visit. But here, especially the students, and I found from them they have a great interest in the Tibetan Buddhism, the Tibetan culture. They want to learn so much from that. And so, even though we might have issue with the Communist Party, I want to define our issue with the Communist Party, not with the Chinese people. Chinese and Tibetans, they are just living side by side for all those centuries. We have such a strong connection over the centuries, right? So when I meet those Chinese students, they have such interest in Tibetan Buddhism that when I try my best to introduce the Tibetan Buddhism in a more academic manner to them, obviously we start to make a connection. So a lot of misconceptions are kind of get disintegrated that way. So I think this presentation of the mandala is very, very important in terms of not only to bring that awareness of the Tibetan culture, but also to build that bond between the Tibetan and Chinese. So I think this is one of the purposes that it serves. And yes, and about the mandala, I think it's better for me to take a question rather than just to make the traffic one-way traffic noise. So, any of you have any questions regarding the mandala? I will take a few.
Yes.
I have enough time to take a few questions.
Which was the first time they make a mandala? Which was the first day or year when they start making mandala? Which year start?
You mean by the monks or the original one?
Yeah, by the monks in the time of years. How many years? 2,000 years, 1,000 years?
Oh. So we believe that the instructions of the mandala are there in the scriptures taught by Lord Buddha 2,500 years ago. So we believe, that's our belief, whether I don't know whether it's true history or not, but that's our belief that it was created 2,500 years ago. Yeah, but because this is very much drawn upon the Indian saint painting. There's in India, especially the ladies, they will make a saint painting. The material is kind of same.
Also the evolution, right?
So since the Buddhism was kind of originated out of India, so maybe the Buddhism might have kind of came out with their own version.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
I know you can't talk about everything, but could you say a little bit about some of the symbols?
Okay. Yeah. Now you can see in the center is the white Tara, or there's a white a goddess in white color, and the Tara is normally the feminine aspect of the Buddha, the female aspect of the Buddha, and so it's with what is called the caring and the the compassionate and loving, that kind of caregiver, part of aspect of the Buddha. And the white Tara specifically is meant for the long life. The Tibetans, all of long life, most of the long life prayers and rituals we do are linked, are kind of associated with the white Tara. And so there's white Tara in the center, and you can see the 8 auspicious signs which surrounds the white Tara. 8 auspicious signs, each image has auspicious meaning to it. And then the mandala itself, normally I tell people that it's a kind of top-down visual of a house, like a picture taken from a Google Earth, right? Top down. So top down, kind of 2-dimensional. So, and you can see there's white Tara. There's 8 auspicious signs surrounding her. The white Tara is female, surrounding her, and then there's the 4 gates of the palace and those inner decorations, the external decorations, and then the outer environment. So this is the physical depiction of the palace or the divine palace of the white Tara. But then on the deeper level, it also symbolizes the spiritual path to gain the state of white Tara. Because as a Buddhist, we believe that all the sentient beings have the potential to achieve Buddhahood. All of us has that inner potential to become Buddhahood. So that white Tara symbolizes our potential to become Buddha. But then, to be better, that potential to improve ourselves, the potential to transform ourselves for the better. Yeah. Yes.
How long does one have to practice to be able to be part of it?
Normally when this is one of the common questions that we get: how long it takes to practice the mandala. When we say the mandala, it's not the artistic part alone. I used to give the example of if you want to draw an American flag, right? There's 50 stars and those white and red strips, right? Stripes, yeah. Stripes. That's not that difficult. But if you want to know the history of the 50 states, right? How one of those states, the history, the geographical knowledge, and the population, this overall knowledge of each state, then is a much bigger deal. So when we set the mandala, it's not just the artistic part alone. It's also the philosophical part, which the mandala, those image symbolizes. Because we believe in Tibetan Buddhism, we believe the symbolism has a very important part. Just like our whole life is in a way governed by symbols, right? Like the traffic light, those traffic lights, not just the color itself, it's the meaning behind those colors which make us follow the rule, right? So in a way, our life is also kind of governed by different symbols. Even the language we can say is kind of a symbol, right? It kind of conveys the meaning. So that's why the Tibetan Buddhism, because it is such a rich, visualizing meditation, that symbolism is so important. Yes.
How long? My question is for one day. How long did it take to make it?
This one?
Yeah.
Maybe total of 40 hours or something? Yeah.
What does the entire mandala represent in terms of why do you make it, and then why do you take it apart?
Why we make it, there's the one, as you said, a mundane purpose, like to make people more aware about our culture. And the other one is to, through the mandala, we can able to make people more understanding of the Buddhist tenets, right? And a lot of how much we have in common, like compassion, and love, and care. How much is kind of common for all the different faiths. And the taking down the mandala, it is more symbolic, or represents mortality, right? How even though we know that one day everything is going to end, but then we find it to translate that awareness into acceptance, right? Yeah, we know, but we are unable to accept, because the acceptance is more at the emotional level. And sometimes, and then the acceptance is not the end. Acceptance is just the start, and then how do you transform yourself based on that acceptance, right? So the mandala, the destruction of the mandala is to drive home the point that everything is transient. It's not going to stay forever. So it's more like a self-reflection. Yes.
Do the monks mentally chant as they make the mandala?
No, I don't think they chant, but then they have to maintain a very tight discipline, mentally and physically, when they do the mandala. Even they have to regulate their breathing, because obviously if you breathe hard, then you will blow up with the sand, and if you breathe too shallow, then it will put further stress on the body. And then they have to be almost single pointed. They have to be single pointed to the task, so they can't waver their concentration. So they are more at present. So it's very much our kind of a mindfulness meditation. So yes, ma'am.
Are all mandalas the same design, or do they depend on?
Ma'am, in the Tibetan Buddhism, the mandala belongs to the tantric part of the Tibetan Buddhism. So there's the 4 different levels of tantra. So the mandala that we are doing right now is the lowest tantra. So the mandala among the lowest tantra can differ, but there's a lot of similarities. But the highest tantra have the mandala in entirely different dimensions. So it can differ to a great degree, but then sometimes it's kind of have a lot of similarities, and as well as quite a number of dissimilarities.
So the next time the group goes someplace else and makes one, who decides?
The decision is taken by the host.
The host,
Yeah.
or what they would like to see.
Yeah. I think so. Wasn't it correct? This was your decision for us to make a white Tara mandala, right? he don't have any clue. I'm just kidding.
We have time for only one or two more questions,
Yeah,
because we
let's
do
take-
have the dissolution ceremony where everybody will be receiving sand, actually. And following that, Victory Outreach has a service in here at 5 o'clock, so.
Yeah, so we are fast. Yeah, so,
I have one of the two questions I'm gonna ask you.
okay.
Your parents came from Tibet? How did they come from Tibet? Because I think that Exodus story and the challenge of their Exodus is important. Because I am going to ask something after that of you.
You know, it's a journey mostly made over the land, you know. So they were in Lhasa, which is capital of Tibet, and that made that, I think, 15 to 20 days of trip on foot, hotly pursued by the soldiers. And they traveled at a grave risk to their life, you know. In a way, I lost my paternal grandfather, yeah, during that flight. So, yeah, so that's how they escaped. And
The flight is on foot, though. It's not. It wasn't done by air.
No.
And at night.
Yeah, they have to make their escape during the day, during the night, because during the night, you know, it's too obvious a target. Yeah.
Sniper top of your head? Or what?
Not sniper, but more like an air attack. Yeah.
So, question?
Yes, ma'am.
You said you designed the mandala based upon what the host says or asks for. But is there a specific mandala, or are there variations on what you could create depending upon what they're asking?
Let's say on mandala we have to follow very strict instructions.
Okay.
So it's not like a free hand or anything.
No,
It's-
I didn't think it
yeah,
was.
it's very prescripted,
Mhm.
and they have to follow the exact method that is given on the scripture, because it's as much a spiritual exercise as it is an artistic exercise for the monks.
So to achieve the skills and physical
Mm-hmm.
to perform this mandala, they will practice in different rooms or different.
No, you know, it's
they
just like, you
practice
know,
here?
we believe more than, let's say, more than a verbal prayer, we believe that the motivation is very important. So
Oh, yes.
during the morning, they set their motivation right, correct, I think as best as they could. Yeah.
One of their preparations is that they only eat vegan while they're making a mandala. And,
Only while they're making a mandala, or all the time?
Yeah,
only while you're
only
making the
during
mandala.
mandala, yes.
And so we went to great pains. We mean Griffin. I don't know where Griffin is. She deserves her thanks too.
Yeah.
And we went to this Indian restaurant. Oh, great food. They loved it. And this Thai restaurant. Oh, amazing. And this Indian, amazing. And then the one day I'm not here, they said, "How about pizza?" And I'm like, "Pizza?
There's
Really?"
vegan
Yeah, oh,
pizza.
vegetarian pizza. So good that yesterday we ordered more pizza for them.
Yeah, the crane was thinking of keeping us on a kind of a kosher diet.
I was just, so,
Is it possible, I mean, do you ever do they make a mistake?
Yeah.
Do they, and then correct it, or how do they?
It happens, but rarely. I would say this, rarely. Yeah.
Can we take pictures again before
Yes.
you?
Sorry?
Can we take pictures again before you?
Yes, I think while the monks dress up, feel free to take pictures for 1 or 2 minutes, but don't, please keep your distance. Yeah.
Don't touch it.
the dressing up, what's going to happen now, just as a heads up, they will get into their ceremonial garb, and they will chant. And they do this thing called throat chanting, which if you haven't heard is amazing. And then there's a process by which they dissolve the mandala, and then everybody receives a gift. My request is the following, and that's where I was trying to get with their journey. If you take sand from them, make a contribution, please, in one of 2 ways. One of 3 ways. I'll be a little altruistic. The altruistic way is just make a contribution of sharing the story with somebody else. 2, buy something outside. So you can take something with you, concrete beside the sand. And 3, there's a box out there. They live on this. There's no other business. This is how they spread their message and how their monastery, is that right? Yes, in India, what, there are 3,000 people living there now? Over 3,000 it's grown to. So this is an extraordinary undertaking. Are you ready, Pisho?
Yes, can I request all of you to go to the other side of the mandala because we have to